This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by Mandrake.com.
Here's how you can buy it.
Mandrake.com.
And right now, 70% of anybody that has an important position in Russia today were KGB members. And my thoughts were that, we ought to be cautious. I mean, I know we've complained about it, and the CIA is something that I've been criticizing for so many years. Quite frankly, I believe that if you have a truly constitutional republic, you would not even have a CIA. And then the opposition will immediately say, "Oh, you don't care. You don't care about protecting America," and all those arguments. But then again, the other side of that argument is, how much more money do you want? You claim that you have, well, we know you have $75 billion for the 16 agencies, and you don't do all that good a job. And you want more money and more personnel to do things that we don't even know what you're doing, and yet the CIA is funded, not only directly, but indirectly. They run their own businesses. Every once in a while they get in the drug business. And they're a government unto themselves. Chalmers Johnson said it was a private army for the president. That is, until they turn on the president, and then who knows what happens. But it's done in secrecy, and they're pervasive. They're into elections around the world. They're into assassinations. They're into interrogations and torture, as well as being involved in just about everything around the world, and nobody really knows much about it. And that to me is the big complaint. You wouldn't have to spend a heck of a lot of money if you just had a few people who were responsible for gathering up information of individuals or groups that might want to attack us. And maybe what they ought to do is maybe just listen to the person who wants to tell them, well, my son's a bit crazy and he's liable to come over here and do something to you. And that would have probably cost about a $10 for a phone call, That's not likely to happen. They're going to want more and more money. But, we've talked a lot about the Federal Reserve System. And I think we could deal with the Federal Reserve System the same way I suggested we deal with the CIA. We really don't need the Federal Reserve at all. Big question is, what's going to happen to the audit bill? It's in the House bill of regulation, the bill I voted against because it's an atrocious bill, but it's still, the system works that way, so I had the chance to stick it on there. I did. It's not doing so well in the Senate side, and there's a lot of effort over there to make sure it's not in there. But this very week, this whole Bernanke issue is related to the audit the bill and the energy so many of you put into it to get the attention of the American people and the congressmen right now. To get 317 members of Congress to sponsor this bill doesn't mean that it does mean that the American people have sent a message there, and I think it's very positive. But what's likely to they're likely to water down. But the fact that Bernanke may not make it through means that this is closely tied to the audit bill, because have been holds put on the confirmation process, and they have to have 60 votes in order to get that out, and unless they have an up and down vote on auditing the Fed. So the issues are closely tied. I generally, over the years, have not chosen to go after the individuals. Even though sometimes it's much better to do that because you get a lot more attention, because I think it's the philosophy of money and the banking system. It's not Bernanke who created our crisis. It's the Bernanke-like people that have been around for way too long, especially since 1971. That is the real problem. So I generally don't, but this week, really, it is a big issue. If Bernanke goes down, that means they have a real setback for their desire to cover up and not allow to have transparency. But there are some over there that are adamantly outspoken against what we're trying to do and against some openness with the Federal Reserve. I sense from the discussions I've had and the hearings that we've had that the most important thing to the Fed to conceal is, of course, two things. One, international activities, and second, how they bail out their buddies through the discount window. Those are the two things that they get hysterical over, and that means, oh, you want to turn the power of the money system over to the Congress so that we will let the people know what's going on. And what if a bank is weak and the people get to know that? Well, isn't that what you're supposed to know? Why should the Federal Reserve cover up the information? You know, in this day and age, you know, you take a company like Enron. If they fudge the books and lie to the people, and they go to prison for fraud. But here they're saying that if the Federal Reserve comes in and finds out that the bank is very, very weak, their job is to keep it secret. I mean, it makes no sense whatsoever. They do not like that information getting out about their friends and who they bail out. But the other thing is the international stuff. They have the exclusion on what the GAO can audit is that we're not allowed to look at any international agreements with governments, other central banks, or international financial organizations. That's IMF and World Bank. And here we have a central bank that can do all these things, and they never have to ask the Congress for anything. They don't have to say, hey, you know, we want to send $1 billion over to country A, and we want to make an agreement, guarantee loans, and all these kind of things. No, they don't have to. They just have to click a computer. And they can get themselves involved in all these dealings. So in many ways, my suspicion is that if we ever got to look at the books, that they're probably very much involved in foreign policy. If our CIA is going over and being involved in elections and assassinations and you know, just running the world in a secret manner, and they only get $75 billion a year in the open, and they might need 100 or 200 or 300, and they have unlimited credit. To me, it's unimaginable what kind of deals they might make. So, is it conceivable that the CIA and the Federal Reserve may get along quite well together? And it's a possibility, but the whole thing is we're not even allowed to know. The Congress is just there. They're oblivious to it all. The conservatives say, well, you can't dare restrain the CIA in any manner whatsoever. And then also nobody wants, the banking industry and all wants to protect, you know, the central bank. Now, my guess is what will happen is that, we will not go through the system, get the Senate to pass something, the President signs it, and all, and next year you're going to have an audit and you're going to know what's going to happen to Fed. I don't think so. It'll be sort of like McCain-Feingold. You finally get a favorable ruling and allow a little bit more freedom on how to spend money and be involved in politics. But immediately next week they're going to have a bill up again that will reinstate some of those same restrictions, and it'll be in effect by November, and it'll be back to the courts again and take 2, 3, 4 years to you know, overcome it. So that'll probably happen on the audit. Even if you get something through, the two cases going on right now, one by Bloomberg and one by Fox, they've been, you know, one case has been ruled favorably for the Freedom of Information Act, the other not, but they're on appeal. But it's going on, and I think they're very beneficial. But even if you get something through and signed, even if it's good, it's going to immediately go to the courts. So it could go a year or 2 or 3. In this age, in this time, from my viewpoint, that's a long time, because we're working with a financial system where the foundation has been shattered.
Mandrake.com. It's honey, it's cinnamon, it's phyllo dough.
Milalnika. Tenexarowelnika.
And it's famous, but not too famous to be on the Ridley Report. It is George's famous baklava, created by an agorist, shipped to you anywhere in the U.S. Mandrake.com.
Brag.